Hey guys, today I want to take a look at the camera rig rail system, and in particular, this functionality that it has, which is, if you notice when I'm sliding my uh, sequencer timeline, we're getting an update in the editor, in the position of the camera mount is moving, correctly. Now, this is super useful, and you've probably used this class before, never maybe thought about it, but how is this happening? Because blueprints don't actually tick in the editor. They only tick during playtime or in game mode. So how, but if we want to create, if we want to sort of extend off of this, um, this is a separate child class of the AActor class, and there's no actual camera rig rail component. So if we wanted to add functionality like this inside of a blueprint, let's say, so we could go off and maybe build a new tool or something like that, we can't actually update our um, we can't make it scrubbable in the timeline for another artist. So um, it's a little bit of a drawback, but how can we make a blueprint tickable, or sorry, a editor tickable actor? And that's what we're going to look at today, is overriding the tick function in the C++ class, and then how to build sort of our own take on a camera rig rail system like this, so we can sort of have all this functionality and wrap it inside of a custom blueprint for the team to use. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is create a new C++ class. Um, and this is going to be based on our actor class. And we're going to call this our editor tickable actor demo. Okay, we can just put it in our project here. We'll go ahead and create that. Okay, so we've got uh, our new class loaded up here in the editor or in the IDE. And let's take a look at the camera rig rail class itself. And specifically, what's happening when we do a tick. Okay, so here we go. This is a tick function. And you can see right away that, it's virtual, which means we're probably going to override it in sort of a child class. But then they're explicitly, there's the override sort of macro here that's explicitly calling for it to be overridden. So they're obviously altering the the base functionality of the tick function in the actor class. That it's going to, the actor class will have a tick function, and in the camera rig rail is overriding that somehow. So let's take a look and see what's going on. Okay, so this is the CPP file. And so, of course, you can see the super. So we're calling everything that is coded in the AActor base tick function. So first we're calling all of that. We're doing everything that an actor class should do. And then, oh, sorry, I can scroll a little bit here. There you go. So this right here is the function. And then they're also calling this update rail components function. So that's all happening in the tick. So they're extending the functionality just in the AActor class. This would, would just be this. But then they're also calling one more function, and then that's the end of this sort of override. So let's take a look what's happening in update rail components. So again, still here in the Canyon rig rail CBP. And so, I mean, really, when you look at this, it's saying, can we get a world? If we can't get the world, we're going to return out of our function. If we have a rail spline component and a rail camera mount, we're going to get the spline length. we're going to get the location at the distance along spline. And then, there's a couple of other booleans here that we can call. So if we're going to lock the rotation to the rail, or if we're going to leave it sort of stationary. And if we are, great, we're going to update the rotation as well, or else we're just going to set the world location on the mount position. And the mount position here is this little, it's the part that moves on the rig rail. Okay. So this is how we can see that they're calling the update rail component, which is updating the location and the transform of this this rail mount. They're calling that in their tick function override. So again, every frame or every tick, it's calling everything that the AActor class does, and then it's also updating. So what we need to do is override our own tick function here inside of our editor tickable actor demo class. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of functions here, and so what do we need? Well, we're going to need a boolean to turn on and off this functionality inside of our details panel on the blueprint class. We might want to disable this ticking in editor at some point. Maybe our scene starts to get really heavy, or maybe there's lots of these blueprints firing off, and it just might become a lot of overhead for our editor work. So we want to have the ability to turn it on and off. And then we also need a way to, we also need a function that will carry the delta time change frame to frame. And we need to have that embedded in our tick functionality. So we can go ahead and make a couple of functions right here. So we're going to do a virtual void, and we'll call this should tick if viewport only. Okay, and that's going to be a const, and it's also going to be an override. Okay, and that we're getting from, that's just the nomenclature that these guys are using, that Epic is using here as well. So just going to copy that. Okay, so that's that guy. We're also going to need an actual bool that we can turn on and off. So we'll call this use editor. And we'll start that as false. And oops, property. And this will be blueprint rewrite. And we'll also sort of edit anywhere. Okay. And we'll need one more function. This will be our main function. So this will be new function. And we're going to do blueprint implementable event. We're going to do column editor. And let's put this in a category. And equal to, oops, events. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're not going to return anything, but we will call this blueprint editor tick. Okay. And this is what we're going to actually extend off of in our blueprint graph. This will be the actual event. So we're going to have a float, and we're going to give it our delta time. Okay. There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and close Unreal here. Give this a second. And let's try and build. Oh, I am getting an error here. I think getting this wait, and generally I just need to restart my IDE, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, guys, and we're back here. So actually, let's make a couple of definitions for these really quick. And here's our tick function. And so we know we're going to need to call the super, because that is sort of all the core functionality of the actor class, AActor class. But we need to do a couple of things first. So we're actually going to, before we call that, we're going to evaluate a few things. So let's do if with editor, okay, and then we'll call if, and we're going to get our world if it's not equal to null pointer and get world type is equal to world type editor. So if the world is not null and we're specifically in the world type is editor, we're going to run some code. And the code we're going to run is our blueprint editor tick, and we're going to give it our delta time. So if our world type is editor, we're going to call our editor tick blueprint node or blueprint event. Okay. So and you know that's an event because of this sort of macro here, this blueprint implementable event, and you'll see that in a second when we go into the blueprints. But that's going to be our new event tick node inside of our blueprints. So okay, so that's there, and then else, and we can actually end this. And if not, we're just going to call our super tick delta. Oh, I got that down here actually. Clean that up a bit. Okay, so if we're in the editor, we're going to call our blueprint editor tick, and if we're not in the editor, we're going to call the regular tick function inside of our blueprints. And this is where we're going to expose that boolean that's going to let us enable and disable the editor tick functionality. So this is where we're going to activate this boolean and expose that. So what do we need to do here? Well, we're going to need to do another if statement. We're going to need to get our world again, and we want to make sure that's not a null pointer. And we also want to make sure that we're in the editor. So this world type equals type editor, but also we want to check the boolean. Use that as a check, and we want to make sure that that is true. And if it is, we return true. And if not, else, we can return false. Okay. So that should just about do it for the modifications. Okay, let's go ahead and build this. And we're getting an error. Should take a word void returning a value. So let's take a look. And we are right. Okay, so we're returning a value here, true or false, but this is set to void, so this should actually be a bool. And if that is a bool, then we should also be going over here, and this will also need to be a bool. Okay, that looks like it might have cleared it up. Let's give it a shot. Okay, and we're still getting an error here, so our should tick if viewport only methods. Override specifier. Override did not override any base class methods. So let's take a look here in our header. Should tick if viewport only. Let's just double check this function in the. So, okay, so this, okay, the function we actually want to write over is viewports. So if we go here, S, right, and we'll have to update that here as well. And let's give this another shot. And this has been removed at some point. There we go. Now it looks like we're getting somewhere. Okay, so make sure you spell this correctly, and make sure you have your proper tags on it. Okay, we're getting another error here. Term does not evaluate to a function taking 0 arguments. So that's on this line here, and we actually have 2 parentheses. So let's get rid of those. And we'll try this for a 5th time. Excellent. Okay, there we go. So with all that done, let's give this a run. Okay, great. Here we are inside Unreal. And let's get our level sequencer open. So there we go. We can see our camera rig rail. And that's our sequencer. So right with that. And now we can make a new blueprint based on our new custom editor tick actor class. And we'll have a couple of functions in there that we'll be able to activate and hopefully get that blueprint ticking during the editor. So yeah, let's create a new blueprint class. Let's do editor tick, see what we get. Okay, so editor tickable actor demo, we can select that. The editor tick demo, and let's open that up. And we can bring that over here. And let's just pop over and take a look here. So this is our regular tick event that fires. And if we do, look at this, here we go. This is our event blueprint editor tick. So this is what we exposed in our class. So blueprint editor tick, and of course blueprint editor. Okay, so let's take a look at what this node can do. So let's add a spline, and we'll add a cube. And if we look at this, rig rail, we should see. So we're really just getting the spline length, and then we're doing some multiplication, and we're getting that location at distance along spline. and then we're updating the position of the mount. So these are all nodes that we can access inside blueprints. So if we drag in our spline variable to indicate our position, so this will be a float, and we'll expose that. Okay, and then we'll need, so we'll drag this out. Get location at distance along spline. This is just going to be clamps. So, oops, this actually going to be 0. This will be 1. And we'll multiply these together. And that'll give us our location at distance along spline. Then we'll get our Q, and we'll just update its position. Compile and save that. This, and we can drag our endpoint out a little bit. Okay, and then we'll also need to add this blueprint to our sequencer. We'll make a new track for our blueprint, but this variable, this position on spline, we need to expose that to cinematics before it'll show up in the sequencer. Here we go, this is our position on spline. We'll add a keyframe, and we'll set our maximum value of 1. So that's all getting set up pretty good. It's still not responding. So if you come over here, you see this is our value position on spline. This is our tick in editor, and you see that just jumped into position. So now we've got a tickable blueprint in the bubble. So we can animate things. We can see how they respond. We're not reliant on using the camera rig rail. And we have a lot more control over modifying this actual blueprint to do sort of just about anything we need. One thing too, you can't actually add a rig rail as a component. So there really isn't any blueprint component or actor component that you can add to get this functionality. There are a couple of other hacks. Nothing is really sort of as clean as this. I would, word of advice here is ticking during the editor can get out of hand pretty quickly, especially if you're doing things like spawning assets or components. It is just something to keep in mind when you're trying to optimize your workflow. And definitely want to make use of this function to disable the ticking. That'll come in handy as soon as you have multiples of these. You can have a lot of them, but as soon as you start scaling up your scenes, this could in theory get out of hand. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye.